we playing a game, but guess what? You don't know the rules of the game, so you're gonna fail every time,
Right.
and not in a positive way. So that's the biggest thing, not knowing the rules of things. We just doing things because people said something, and not doing your own due diligence.
Why do you think it is they don't explain it as well as you are right now?
Well, it has to be wealthy. You have to have poor.
Yeah,
So
very good point.
if everybody's wealthy, would you have poor?
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's the answer.
What's up?
Life of a hustler, gotta do it for mother, gotta do it for father, even though he act like a sucker. Life of a hustler, gotta do it for granny, gotta do it for brothers, even if they think I don't love them, been getting active and hustling.
What's up? We back with another episode of More Action Podcast. Y'all know how it is. Every episode I bring new information, and honestly, we like to go over anything we probably talked about before, just so it's really locked in. As you see, I got Amoon Razen with me, flew out to Atlanta and then drove here just to do a presentation for me and share this information with y'all here on camera. So what's up, Amoon? You doing good?
Doing good. What up, man? How you doing?
Yeah,
Doing good. Super strong.
You feeling good?
Feeling good, man. Feeling great for sure. For sure.
Little early. It's not too late in the day. It's like noon right now. But what we wanted to talk about on this episode is a lot of financial information that, in my opinion, most people don't know off the top of their head. And if you do know it, it's because you got in with a good mentor like Moon. So if you could just give them a little background and then let them know pretty much what you're doing right now to help people in the financial industry.
So what I'm really doing right now is to help people basically do the same thing the Rockefellers did. Mm-hmm. If it ain't broke, why fix it? So I help people understand and understand the difference between information and education. Information, you take that and you do not utilize it. Education, you take it and you utilize that information that you're getting. And that's why they call school an educational system. Because school, you use the information and you apply it, which make it education. So we into financial implementation. Okay. And that's why I teach from point A to point Z how to implement. Because faith without works don't mean anything. You have to implement everything you're talking about to make things move forward.
Right. What would you say was like one of the first things that made you realize you have to implement, not just know this information? Because people know things, but like you just said, they don't act on it.
Well, I have a mentor named Sam, and he was like, you got to understand that if you're on a treadmill, you're walking, right? But are you really going anywhere? I was like, no, you're moving. He said, yeah, you're moving, but you're not progressing. So I had to progress by walking, and I just been on a treadmill in a rat race. So I was like, okay, let me take what he's saying. He's like, you have to implement what you're doing, because it's like faith while works. If you're not implementing, you're not doing anything. You can be in a car and say, God, I wish you can give me some food, come in the car. But if you don't go out there and get no food, you're gonna pass away, something like that.
Right.
So,
you can't just sit around and wait for it to come to you.
Exactly. So that's one of the big things I learned is that you have to implement. You gotta have fear. People have fear, not have to have fear, but you have fear, but you have to fail forward. Because everybody have fear, but courage is moving with fear in you, but you're still going forward. So I kind of think about all those different things, and I was like, okay, that's what helps me a lot.
Right. That's good. That's really good. And implementing, in my opinion, is more important. So I just wanted to make sure that y'all understand there's things that we can learn about and not take action on, and years are just going to continue going by. If you don't take action on something that you learned 5 years ago, that information could probably be played out, by the time you actually want to act on it. So just make sure you implement on information you're learning. So one thing I want to talk about for the people watching is, what is some of the biggest things that you hear people say about their money situation? Like, oh, I have my money in a bank, or, I have this, 401k or whatever with my job. And when they start talking about money, what is the one thing that you notice people always have a complaint about?
So the biggest thing most people complain about is their money not growing. But the same thing is like, you have to study money. You can't be fearful. So a lot of times people saying their money ain't growing, but they don't even know what the rule of 72 is. And we in a place where information is infinite right now. So the rule of 72 is basically this: 72 divided by a number would tell you how many years your money would double. So if you say my money in the bank grows 1%, 72 divided by 1 is what? 72. So it takes 72 years for your money to double.
Mm-hmm.
You can't win a game if you don't know the rules. And a lot of times we playing a game, but guess what? You don't know the rules of the game, so you're gonna fail every time,
Right.
and not in a positive way. So that's the biggest thing. We're not knowing the rules of things. We just doing things because people said something, and not doing your own due diligence to get better.
Right. Right.
But books like Money, Wealth, and Life Insurance, books like Tax Free Retirement, books like The Power of Zero. These are three main books I say people should read. But you're reading to overstand, not reading just to be reading. No, you're reading to implement.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you read a book, you're not saying, okay, what did I learn in chapter one? And then the next question you ask yourself is, how am I going to apply it? That's the faith in the works. So while learn is when you're reading, you say, what did I learn? It can be one to three things or more. But the next question I ask myself is, how am I going to apply it?
Mm-hmm.
Because you can read a book, you don't apply nothing from the book you're learning, it just goes away like that.
Right.
So that's the thing. People don't know the rules of things. They're just playing football, and they really should be playing basketball, so they don't lose every time.
Right. That's what you mean by the overstanding. It's not just understanding the information, but like taking action on it as you get it as well.
Exactly.
Right.
Perfect.
Yeah. I've noticed you kept saying overstand, and I was like, it's starting to all make sense.
Yeah.
You know?
Study etymology. Something I know. Study
Okay.
etymology. You got to study words because you don't know what spells you're putting out there, the things you're talking about.
Right.
If you're just saying it just because you're just saying it because that's what you learned.
Right. Right. So people, they have money and they have these complaints, but like you just gave 3 books. Make sure you rewind and look up those books. You got to, read, learn a little more about the very money we're using every day. So most people, like I was about to say, take their money to, banks or, financial advisors who recommend, certain things. But what do you notice that the financial advisors or the banks are doing with money that the people who were giving them their money aren't doing? Because that's something I also remember you talking a lot about is these financial advisors and banks are making moves that we could be making, with the cash we're putting in there.
Well, the banks, financial advisors, they both great things. I'm not bashing one. Financial advisors are great and banks are great. But the thing is for you to study what they are doing. Mm-hmm. And that's why I just said those 3 books.
Right.
Because when you look at what the banks are doing, the banks have, like Wells Fargo and these banks like that, they have millions and billions of dollars of life insurance. Mm-hmm. And like, okay, do a bank really die? It doesn't physically die. They have cash value life insurance and things like that. Because most times people don't understand life insurance is death insurance. They don't understand that you can live and utilize it while you're living. Mm-hmm. People got something called LIRP. It was in the Forbes. Forbes had LIRP, life insurance retirement planning. It's called a rich man's Roth. Mm-hmm. But you study what you love, and if you ain't loving it, if you ain't studying it, you don't really love it. So it's just basically they have their stuff in place. But when you see that, and you can look it up, what BOLI is. Y'all can go look up, say, what is BOLI? It's called bank-owned life insurance. You go look up COLI and look up, it says company-owned life insurance. We're not smarter than the bank, but we just got to implement what they're doing by asking the right questions. So we can go look these things up, like, okay, the bank has it. Everybody have their money in the bank, so I should implement it. Right. So it's not recreating the wheel, it's following suit of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, let's keep talking about that, because if these banks are getting all this life insurance, what is it like? Why would they do that? You even said banks don't die. It's like, what's the point of a bank putting money in life insurance?
Because it protects their money.
Right.
It's go directly. It's tax free. It's most states. It's probate free. Mm-hmm. So it's protecting their money. At the end of the day, they're protecting it. So, and that's what it's all about, protection.
Right.
Like you protect yourself with that. Like the Rockefeller waterfall methods out there that you can look up. Rockefeller waterfall method. You see kind of what he did with the trust and all that. You just look at different things. You look at companies like Lockheed Martin. All these companies have big life insurance policies, and you got to ask yourself, why? Why do they have? The best question to ask anything is why, because why goes to the root. If you understand why they're doing it, then you say, oh, this is why I may need to do it. Mm-hmm. So that's the biggest thing. Protection.
Right.
You can't have car insurance, phone insurance, or rent insurance and don't protect yourself. Yeah. Is a car more important than you? No, but you protect it, and the government make you get it. Mm-hmm. You can't drive off the lot without having car insurance.
Right.
But those things are replaceable. But guess who's not replaceable is you. So if that's true, then why do you have a property set up on yourself?
Mm-hmm.
So it's more not the answer, it's the question you have to ask yourself. And that's how you get the answer that you want.
Yeah, for sure. Um, Thinking as you were talking, going with the life insurance, I noticed that like most business owners and just average people like have trouble with taxes. Is life insurance something that could help with taxes too? Because if banks are getting it, they're probably using that to their tax advantage too, right?
Well, it depends. If they have, they can do things that's like tax free in their life insurance policy. They
Mm-hmm.
can do something that's tax free. Um, Look at your CPA for the rest of that. I'm not CPA by the way, but
Mm-hmm.
like you have tax free income in some life insurance policy for sure.
And you think banks use that at
Yeah,
all to
banks
their
they
advantage?
use that for sure. They only
Mm-hmm.
use that for sure. If you get your money tax free, that's great. But the best question is, okay, if you would never lose your money, how much money would you put in there? If you knew
Yeah.
that you'll never lose your principal, how much money would you put in there? And most people say all of it. So if
Yeah.
that's the case, that's the same reason why they do it,
Mm-hmm.
because they bypass market volatility. So the market goes negative 25%. If you have a floor at 0.75, you'll never lose your income. How much money would you put in there? You probably put most of it in there.
Right.
You have stocks, Bitcoin, and all those things, real estate, which is great things to diversify your portfolio. However, all those things go up and down. So if you have a, say you have a 401k, you have land, or whatever the case may be, you have some Bitcoin, you have stocks. All those things are great. And real estate, say file, real estate. All those things are great, but they all do the same thing. They go up and down. So if they all do the same thing, are you really diversified if all of them do the same thing?
Because if something falls, everything else could fall too.
Exactly. And that's what you got to ask yourself. All these things have different names, but they do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So in my opinion, they're not diversified. They just one.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, man. And I
Mm-hmm.
appreciate you explaining all this because that's the next thing I wanted to ask you is why don't they make this make sense early on in life? Because I feel like I didn't even start learning about insurance or just money literacy at all until I started, hitting my 20s. And still then, I wasn't really being taught unless I sought the information. You know what I mean? So why do you think it is they don't explain it as well as you are right now?
Well, it has to be wealthy. You have to have poor.
Yeah,
So
very
if,
good
if,
point.
if everybody's wealthy, would you have poor?
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's the answer.
Can't really teach,
No,
fish and sharks rule.
exactly.
Yeah.
So if you have to have poor to have wealthy, and that's why. Straightforward. So that's why.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Right. You just
You
got to
know.
withhold information so that way we don't move forward as fastly.
Well, withhold, and you also gotta seek it. If you can go seek everything else, like different tickets of here and there, you can seek knowledge. We're in a place where we can get knowledge anywhere, but knowledge is not power.
Mm-hmm.
Knowledge plus implementation is power. You gotta change that verbiage. We would think knowledge is power, but if you're not implementing, there's no power in that.
Right.
You're just stagnated at that point.
Right.
Yeah, so that's what it is.
Well, how else, in your opinion, could someone, that's making only so much a year. Like they're not super wealthy, but that's their vision. They want to be wealthy or start a legacy for their kids. So how could someone like that use life insurance to their advantage the way a bank does, protection?
Well, they can possibly do a cash value life insurance policy. They can do like a year annual. So say the year annual is $5,000 annual. After 10, 20 years, that money's gonna compound. And
Mm-hmm.
then most people think you have to pay your life insurance for the rest of your life. You can stop it at a certain point if it's set up properly and it's max funded properly, and that money will compound interest all the way until 121, which you should go to. And now your kid is 50 with 1.5 million, or he's 65 with 3 or 4 million, depending on how it's set up. And you can do that because
Right.
most people, like I talked to you earlier, most people pay 250 for Jordans.
Right.
250 times 12 is 3,000.
Mm-hmm.
If you do the same thing for your kid will be good. It's called the $1 Million Baby Program. That's what I call it, the $1 Million Baby. And that being said, you could do that, but it just depends because I teach the discipline of money.
Mm-hmm.
And I also teach the discipline of savings. Because not how much money you make, it's how much money you got left over.
Right. That is true because a lot of money is being put in the banks, and I talked about this in a video a while back. How the banks only give you like less than 1% holding on to your money.
Mm-hmm.
But like what you're saying about how you can put money into insurance and it does compounding interest. Did you like break that down a little bit more? You just said the $1 million baby and how by a certain age they would have enough funds to take care of their family. So
Mm-hmm.
how does that really work? The compounding interest and things like that.
So compound interest is, I put it in a negative way for people to understand this. It's like if you buy a house for $500,000 and then you have a 30-year mortgage, after 30 years you probably paid 1.5 million to $2 million on the house. So you're paying compound interest on the house.
Right.
So imagine it going in a positive way.
Mm-hmm.
You'll pay 2 to 3-fold of your house for sure. Then property tax, if you're paying property tax $10,000 a year, you pay that for 30 years, that's $300,000 you paid in escrow anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So that's our $800,000 on the house anyways.
And it only supposedly was 500,000.
Exactly. You paying $300,000 in property tax.
Right.
So imagine it going the positive way for you. And that's how compound interest work.
Okay.
You know, if you had $100,000 and say you're doing 10% in compound interest, that 10% on $100,000 is $10,000. Then that's probably like 120. Then you 10% on a 120, and 10% on a 140, and so forth and so forth on. So that's how the compound interest work. You know, Albert Einstein said compound interest is the 8-1 of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. So he is telling you that you have to utilize compound interest. But what has happened now, people use compound interest on credit cards, and they get you with that. Student loans, they hit you with that. So they're hitting you all the places that's negative with compound interest, and you wonder why you're paying for the rest of your life. Now imagine you take that same rule they doing to you in a negative and put it in a positive way, and wonder where you'll be at.
Right. That's why I like these conversations, because a lot of stuff that's pretty much happening to us and we don't realize we can make happen for ourselves, like compounding interest and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. It's like all connecting to, if you're starting a business or you're just trying to, take care of your family, you want to know that I can have access to money that's not only the amount I put in, but more because of like inflation. That's something else I want to talk about. What's a good, I'll say, rate of return, right, for money because of inflation? Like, what would you say someone should look for as a return each year on money they have?
Well, it depends. I think anybody with money put in the proper things, they want the most percentage they can get. If it's 20, 30, 40, 19%, or 6%. The thing is to outpace inflation. Inflation is around 3 to 4% right now. So if your money doing like the rule of 72, we go back to that. If all your money is in the bank, and your money in the bank grows 1%, you can look at it. You can hit Chase, Navy Federal, hit that little arrow, it goes down and shows you the percentage your money is growing. So if it's 1% per se, 72 divided by 1 is 72 years. So it takes 72 years for your money to double. What age you are to 72. If it's 10,000, it'll be $20,000 then. So just understanding like where you put your money is to compound. So say if you did it in a policy or something like that, you get approved financially and medically, 2 ways you get approved. And say you look at the historical index, it would tell you like some of them is doing yielding 10% for the last 25 years, or 9.8% for the last 25 years. So you do 72 divided by 9% or 10%. That'll tell you how many years your money would double. That's great.
Yeah, that is. And that's what I wanted y'all watching to understand, is that the importance of inflation and the importance of how much return you're getting on your money matters. Because if you're out here working hard and you're saving money, the value of the dollar is going down each year. So when we're unaware of where to put our money, savings accounts, or maybe, we're putting them in some other retirement plan that we don't understand, the whole time we could be either staying right where we are, or if anything, going down, so that's why I appreciate all the information you're giving out. What would you say are some, retirement plans that most people go after that you actually learned isn't the route to go?
I won't say isn't a route. Depends. Everything about it have to be customized to a person. Because if somebody just care about money growing and they don't care about money going up and down, anything you say to them, it doesn't make sense to them because that's what they really believe in. It's basically so for me personally, my opinion, one thing I utilize me personally a life insurance policy. 80% of my money goes there because my money now. First of all, if I'm sick, I get paid. I get paid while I'm living, not dead. Um, it's three pronged. So it's three pronged. Put it like this: three pronged. If I die too soon, my family get tax free, probate free money. Number two is if I live a long life, I have tax free cash value money that's accessible, and I can utilize it for anything that I want. And the third thing, if I get a illness, well, I'm good because they'll pay me while I'm living. So if I live too long, I'm good. If I die too soon, I'm good. And it's not if you get sick, it's when you get sick, I'm good.
Right.
So that's my three stool. So I'm using all those three parts, and I can utilize those things. You gotta think to yourself, ask yourself this question: what do you have in place right now? If you was to get cancer or something like that, they'll pay you out while you're living, because most people money is tied to their hands. If you're not working, most people, not all people, but most people, if you're not working, you're not getting paid. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean
you're not.
that's the situation I'm in right now. Like I have to go to work every week, you know.
So if you don't go to work, how much money would you make?
If I don't go to work, I'm not making any money.
Zero.
Yeah.
So, you know, make money while you sleep and while you're awake. That's a big thing, you know. And say somebody making $5 grand a month, but they live someplace they only pay their bills only like 2,000 a month, all include everything included. They have $3,000 they can utilize to do certain things. So that's not even a bad thing. It's all about what bills you have, assets and liabilities, and you want your assets to be way higher than liabilities for the most part. So that's what's about the discipline of saving and the discipline of rules of money.
Yeah, for sure. Now, one thing that stuck from what you were just saying is cash value, because I'm still on the insurance, and I just wanted to break down what that is, because people watching could be like, all right, yeah, there's insurance. I've heard of, like term life insurance on that commercial, or I've heard of whole life and this, that, and other. What is the cash value component? What does that do for someone holding a policy?
So they can do anything. So say insurance, you got COI. So you have the cost of insurance on this side, and you have a cash value bucket, right? Some of your money that you pay for your life insurance policy, some of the money goes into what? To pay for the cost of insurance. Because insurance is not free, just like your car insurance ain't free. So some of the money goes, depending on your rate, if you have rate of health, it goes into the cash value. It goes to the cost of insurance, I'm sorry. And the other part of the money goes to the cash value. And that's what, if you max fund it properly, you have access to it sooner.
Right. Because it's
been taxed and it's already been taxed.
Okay.
So the money you put in there is already been taxed. So the other money is tax free. If I ask a question, I say, you guys, would you want to be taxed on $100 or taxed on $100,000? Most people would say taxed on $100. But my next question to them, where do you have most of your money? It's in a tax deferred account.
Tax deferred.
Tax deferred meaning I never taxed you before. I don't tax the seeds, I tax the harvest. So their mind and what they're doing is two different places, not aligned.
Yeah.
Right? And so you have to teach through that.
Right, because it's like, if I want to save on taxes, why would I want to pay on a bigger number of the tax rate? Yeah, that makes sense.
Facts.
Yeah, it's like the harvest. I don't want to give away apples from my tree.
Exactly.
Right.
So if I have 10 seeds, you take 3 of them, and then everything I plant of the 7, it makes a million different things, million fruit or vegetable trees, whatever case may be, I'm good. But if I have these 10 seeds and I put 10 in there, and then they take half my crop, which one you want? Most time you want to take the seeds. 100% of the time, I really want to take the seeds, and then you have the harvest, because the fruit's gonna make more seeds anyways.
That's very true. Well, see, y'all, I want all of this information to just stick with you. Run this episode back and really go over what Amoon's teaching right now, because it starts off with good money habits, but then after you build a strong money habits, saving, and things of that nature, you got to know where to put it, what to do with it once you started accumulating it, making more income, So, last thing I would ask you, just for the people watching, is what's one thing you could say everybody right now can do to start changing their financial future?
First thing I would do is don't chunk a rock and hide your hand. And what I mean by that is look your finances, look the things you got coming out your account face to face. Sometimes I even looked at myself, and personally, I was paying like $40 in subscriptions because I like boxing, so I watching boxing,
Oh
and
yeah.
I do the free thing for that weekend, and then the next month charge me $150. So I'm
You ain't
paying
paying for it.
150 times 12 that whole year.
Wow.
Now that's a couple thousand, right?
Yeah.
I could put that in some type of investment or something that's gonna grow or did anything with that, right? Imagine most people don't do that. So first thing I would say to you guys is write 1 through 31, which is days in a month mostly, and say one day one, see what money comes out that time, put the name of it, how much. It'd be day 3, put the name and how much, and then calculate that. And then things that you don't need, go out there and cancel those subscriptions and put that somewhere else. You was already paying for it, but take that money you was paying for something that you did not know and put it something that you do know and want to grow. So that's the first thing. You have to look the demon in the face and say, okay, I'm gonna stop looking out the window. I'm gonna look in the mirror. And so I'm gonna write all my bills down I see coming out and what days they come out and write it on paper, and you can put it into your Excel or whatever the case may be. But look it in the face and then get that done. Then you realize, because sometimes you realize that you're making this money, but you're paying more, so you already negative. That's why you stress. You made $9,000, but you're paying 9,500.
Wow. Yeah.
So once you get to that place, then I think you can go forward from that. But if you don't look at your bills, what's coming out, how would you get more money?
That's
You know
true.
what I'm saying?
Yeah, because a lot of people, based off what you just said, could give themselves a raise. Like if they just look over things and realize they're paying too much in one area, you just save that money by paying attention. Yeah, no, that's good advice.
And that's what I would do.
Yeah, that's what the whole point of this channel is. You got to take more action, unintended, on the information that's given to you. Maybe do exactly what Amoon just said. Go ahead and pause this, write out 1 through 31, and go ahead and see what you're spending each month, because maybe you have some extra money lying around. You could start doing savings. You could invest. You could get a policy. There's so many different things you could do to start growing your money, but you have to start saving it and making more of it first.
Facts.
Right. So is there anything that you want to tell the people watching as far as like advice on how to move once they have more money in their pocket, or once they finally figured out, a nice routine, a nice, good set of money habits? How do you maintain it? Like, is there any other advice you want to give?
The books I gave you, I gave you the books. Yeah. I gave you books, and like talk to a guy like myself or you, anybody like that, that can give you direction, because you don't want to be your ego. A lot of times we've been our ego, and ego stands for exit guide out. And you have to understand, like, okay, I have this money now. How can I multiply it? Read the books, but implement what the books are saying. You know what I'm saying? They hide information and education in the books. They know you don't read it, and then most people don't apply it. Because most people don't have the OCD method I call OCD. Not talking about cleaning up and stuff like that. OCD stands for organization, consistency, and discipline. If you organize, you're consistent. If you're consistent, you're disciplined. And that's the kind of rules I live by. And that's how you get that. And my last thing to you guys, education plus implementation equals legacy.
See, I'm gonna clip that right there, because I know that hit some of y'all. Like it hit me just now. You have to remember what the vision is, what the goal is, and if you do that, your actions will fall right into place. It's a lot easier to make moves when you know where you're going. Moon told me you can't, do the right thing in the right order if you don't have a vision. So appreciate y'all watching. Moon, I appreciate you
always, man,
giving information as always, and run us back. We learned a few things in this video, a couple of different books to read. Obviously there's more than one place to protect your money, so look into some insurances. Also keep in mind that it's up to you what's happening with your money. You know what I mean? You have to make sure that the habit you're doing is fixed. Don't be looking out and saying, oh, this person scammed me or this person, whatever. You're probably overpaying for subscriptions or doing something you don't need to be doing. So this was another episode of the More Action Podcast. And until next time, take action. All right?
Really good.